Hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, KZAA, home to the Asian Oprah. Moi. I was actually introduced to Oprah as the Asian Oprah by Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who's live right now. And I can't go over there because I'm doing this. But it is on AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, JioSaavn, and about 28 other platforms all over the world. And I'm so grateful that they were wrong. They said that a show about hope and happiness, no gossip, no scandal, no K words, no Kanye talk at all, would not last. And they were wrong. We're coming up on 11 years, May 1st. 2012 is when we started this, and today is show number 912. And I am so delighted to have with me today a guest that you may recognize from many years ago. It was, let's see, he's just coming on and getting checked in here. Nice guitar in the background. But I see you, Chris. Could you close out all of your other windows on your phone or your computer? Because you're a little bit fuzzy. So, Chris, if you could get a little stronger connection, that we've got. I'm going to take you out of the studio for a second and let you do that. There we go. He's somewhere where technology, it hasn't woken up yet, but he will be back in a minute. And let's see, where was I? Yes, am so grateful. And I just want to give a shout out to all the guys at KCAA, my NBC News Radio channel. Let's see, they are centered. Let's see, Polly, I know it's in the Inland Empire. Thank you all for supporting me. Fred Lundgren, my station owner, Mark Westwood, station manager, all the guys in the office, out of the office, Mike Lundgren in Texas, Rick, Miguel, Joe, and of course, Sam, no more Sam. And of course, one of my favorites, because he's the guy that helps me with this show every single weekday morning, and that is Polly. So I don't think you've gotten applause before, Polly. So here we go. He says, thank you, Marissa. And I am absolutely happy to do that. And that is better. Yay, Chris. Can you hear me? Okay, it's still a little laggy. So can you hear me, Chris?
I know. It's I can hear you just fine.
Wonderful. And let's see.
I can hear you just fine, Marissa.
Wonderful. So we have in studio someone you may remember from, gosh, Chris, I went back and looked how long ago it has been, and it's almost a decade ago. Can you believe it? Can you hear me?
I thought about it when we talked last year about. Yes, I can. When we talked about getting this on the air last year, I was counting how much time had gone by from when I met you, when we first started working on that Senate bill.
That's right. And we're going to talk in full about that. But before we do that, I am going to do that first. There we go. And so that is that good? There we go. All right. Breakfast with Dr. Marissa is how I like to start the show. I see the eyeballs rolling in. Thank you for streaming live. You can do so on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. But YouTube is Dr. Marissa Central with all of my playlists and 912 shows. So I like to start every show, if possible, with breakfast. So you're going to have breakfast with Chris and I this morning, and we're going to take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And what a gratitude sandwich is the top of the bun is 8 things we're specifically grateful for. And on the bottom of the bun, it's 8 things that we appreciate about ourselves. So, ready to play along with this, Chris? He's doing something. Okay, I'll just go ahead and start. I am grateful that I have lost 36 pounds, and I'm doing toning now. And it's working. This morning was the first time. It's like, oh, I don't think I've seen that part of my frame in a while, and it's so delightful to see when you're actually, working on something and having it show the results of. And working out is one of those things you don't see it right away. And patience is not in my vocabulary. So I'm grateful that you anybody can lose the COVID-19, the 19 pounds that were gained during COVID. And you've lost some weight too since I've seen you, Chris. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful that I had persistence and the patience to get to this point in my life where I'm at. I've never been happier. It's all about balance. And, when I met you 10 years ago, things were not in balance. The vortex was a mess. The vibration was way off and it needed to be reset. And in the last 10 years, I think I've reset my DNA. I know I've lost 60 pounds since I met you. All right.
Okay,
So
there you go. Yeah, doubled.
This process, it's a process.
Absolutely. I am grateful that I have my beautiful cup of coffee that just is such a delight to start my day with. What are you grateful for? Okay. And our last gratitude, I am grateful that I get to go play mahjong. Today, I introduced more fun in my life. I would say a couple of years ago, I began to realize that I love my work and I work all the time. I'm a recovering overachiever, but it was time to insert some play. So I'm grateful that I get to play mahjong every week. All right, last gratitude, Chris.
That sounds fun.
It is super
I'm grateful
fun.
for this apartment that I'm living in is so beautiful. I have a beautiful view of San Rafael, and I'm grateful for everything in my life. It's a fantastic going on. It's
That's fantastic.
every breath I take.
All right, Chris, you're really cutting out. Can you move yourself closer to the router, wherever your router is? Because you're cutting out, and I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so move around if you need to see if you can get a better connection. All right, now we're going to move to the bottom of the bun. The bottom of the bun is, what do you appreciate about yourself? What do you like about yourself? And the reason why this is important is you don't want to walk around with antenna looking for who likes me, who approves of me. And these days with social media, it's literally who likes me. And the number really doesn't matter. And these days, I get calls all the time. Your number should be higher. Do you want to buy some numbers? Do you want to redo? And it's like, no. People will, if you build it, they will come or not. And if you want to be part of happy 88 tribe, you come and you listen in and you take what you want. And if you don't, that's great, because there's other people. I don't believe that there's, one best way to do anything or one best way to be. And I'm so appreciative that I know that. And that's my first appreciation. I also appreciate that I have learned not to take things personally 88% of the time, because anyone's reaction is more about them than about myself. And this is a huge thing that we're not taught. We're taught that you make me happy, you make me angry, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And that blame and shame is such an integral part of our upbringing as children, and in the school system, and in society. And you can tell I'm a student of the law of attraction. You create your own reality. So when bad things happen, you take a look at, what you did to draw that to you, but then you can, let it go. And that is a huge thing that I am super appreciative that I've gotten that down 88% of the time. 12% of the time, it's still, not fun. But that is truly one of my most important life learnings. All right, Chris is back. Let's see. What do you appreciate about yourself, Chris? Oh, much better. What do you appreciate about yourself?
What do I appreciate about myself? I appreciate that I've got the willingness to do things different in my life, that I'm not in a lane of old beliefs and old thinking and what I was given when I was born, that this lifestyle that was presented to me could be changed and it could be different. I appreciate
Absolutely. All right. And that, go ahead.
The fact that I've had so many people helping me all my life. I've had so many angels surrounding me all my life that it got me here. You're one of the angels. My friends that I've sent this link out to, I mean, I'm never alone in my life. All right, never ever, and I appreciate everyone that's been around me all this time.
Disconnected.
I'm filled with gratitude. There's nothing to complain about.
That's beautiful. Wow, you really have come a long way, Chris. This is not the same Chris that I worked with 9 years ago. And my heart is just so filled with gratitude and appreciation for how far you've come. So I'm going to give you some personal. That's awesome. All right. And that's it for the gratitude sandwich. Thank you for having breakfast with Dr. Marissa and Chris Schrader this morning. And we do have eyeballs. Thank you for joining us. This is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5. The station that leaves no listener behind. And today in studio, we have a special guest. He's a return guest. And it was almost 10 years ago when he came on my show, and the courage that he showed at the time. And and this is the first thing that I want to point out. When we're healing from things that happened in our past, and 7 out of 10 of us have had some kind of trauma, childhood trauma. Now, that number goes up to 93% of people who've had trauma of any kind at whatever age. Okay. That is vast majority. And I had met Chris almost 10 years ago, and I knew that he was hurting. And I'm going to let him tell you what happened that had him come to the studio, but he agreed to be very brave and actually be coached life balance coaching, the way that I work with people to help him begin, or the way you when bad things happen, there's usually two extremes that happen to people. One extreme is you don't want to talk about it. It's in the past. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you can't change the past. So don't talk about it. Don't deal with it. Don't nothing. So you push it down. And if you think about the garbage disposal, if you push down garbage, it compresses into solid, then liquid, then gas. And what happens with a lot of people who push down past pain is it comes back and comes out as gas. And so I have a lot of midlife opportunity clients who have been very successful in trying to overcome the past by not dealing with it. So they're very successful, but somewhere midlife, the gas starts to come out. They're crying all the time. They don't know why, or they become very angry, and that anger comes out at the people who are around them, who they love the most, or at work, and it gets them in trouble. So that's one extreme. The other extreme is people who identify themselves as the pain. So that I call that dragging your past pain and letting it be in your present. And it is who you are. You are no one except for the victim of that, what has happened. And you project that into the future, because then everyone is a potential perpetrator. Everyone, you're suspicious. You're holding your breath. You waiting for the shoe to drop, or you protect yourself. And that extreme, that's where I was. With my childhood abuse at home, I spent years being so like I'd be good, and then I would start drinking, and then I'd be happy, and then always I'd end up sobbing and blaming and angry, and that was my identity. And it was a horrible way to live, a horrible way. And so what I discovered in my process, I worked on myself, and that is all in this book. This book is not a psychologist telling you how to be happy, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. It's a book that takes you through, if you've had childhood trauma like I did, and has exercises. And I took Chris through some of those exercises almost 10 years ago to try to put him on a trajectory of healing. He didn't heal through those 8 sessions. I'm sorry, he did not heal fully. It's not possible when you've had the kind of abuse that he had been stuffing for a little while, to be able to come out. It is a process. I call it like, it goes like this. It's not a flat line up, not a straight line up this way. It's a circular. And every round you gain a little bit of understanding, clarity, and forgiveness for yourself that brings you to that up. Unlimited possibilities. So that, in a nutshell, is what happened with Chris. And I've been, in contact with him to see what he's been doing. And I'm so proud of him that he really has come full circle. So he's going to tell you what happened and go back right now, so that we're all on the same page, and that we understand the journey of healing. And he can share with you where it was at the beginning. So Chris, take it away and help those who are in studio streaming, as well as those who will listen later. What happened to you when you were younger? And just take us through that journey.
Thank you, Marissa. I appreciate you giving me this platform to talk about this. It's if you want to stop a conversation at the dinner table, talk about child molestation, and everyone will leave the table, and maybe one person might come up to you at the end and say, you know what, that happened to me too. But yeah, I'm living in North Long Beach. I'm 11 years old, and I've got a paper route with the Herald Examiner, and I'm delivering newspapers and collecting money from people. And I'm in an apartment building delivering papers when I meet an Episcopalian priest named Richard O'Shaughnessy. And he subscribes to my newspaper, and he's just moving into his house. He just got back from a sabbatical in Israel, and he's a teacher in Compton. And, it's June of 1967. And the next thing I know, I'm in his apartment and I'm working for him. He's a school teacher. I'm grading school papers for him. And, he groomed me to the point that he was able to rape me. And it lasted for a long time. He got involved with my family. He got involved with everything that was going on with me. And at 15, he adopted a kid out of the foster system in Los Angeles, and he moved away from North Long Beach. And it got me away from him. And I got into high school, and I got a job with a petroleum company washing gasoline tanker trucks after school. And I got away from him. And I got this job that I got propelled me into my career. And today I look back and I know that when I got that job and I was able to get in that gasoline tanker truck and I was protected, I knew that no one was going to get to me, that I was safe with that driver that was with me, teaching me how to do that job. I was safe, and I had not been safe for a long time. And it just, at 15, I haven't told anybody about what happened to me. If I would have told them truck drivers and the mechanics that I were working for, Richard O'Shaughnessy would have disappeared. So at 15, I'm on my run. And at 34, the wheels are off. I've got a job. I've got a life. I've got a girlfriend. I've got a house at the beach in Belmont Shore. I've got a job. But I'm drinking every night after work. And I know that I'm having a problem. And I don't want to turn out like my mom and dad. My dad threw the coffee table through the dining room window when I was 12 years old. So I went out and, I had insurance. I called a psychologist and met her on a Friday afternoon and told her I wanted to get my drinking under control. She told me I was going to stop and I was going to start going to the program. And we battled back and forth about that because I didn't want to stop. And I told her what happened.
And I'm guessing that, like me, the drinking, a lot of people use the numbing or that, out of mind or out of state as a way to forget or bury or not think about all of the dark, horrific memories that we are battling within. So I just wanted to interject that for many people, it is not uncommon as a reaction to abuse to try to numb out. So
absolutely.
So go ahead.
So, in 1990, I met a guy that was, he was sober for 7 years. All right. I couldn't get to a meeting without drinking. And his name was Richard. The priest's name was Richard. The universe works in a strange way.
I didn't make that. Wow. I didn't make that connection until just now. That is, right. That's wild. And before we switch, because at this point, Chris, I want to make sure, and this is part of the process that I do. Before you're turning the corner now, right? Into this, the healing begins, right? It began with Richard and acknowledgement. But before we go there, I want you, I want to look in your eyes. And I remember doing this almost 10 years ago, and we were in person, we were in studio, and I sat across from you, and I don't want you to gloss over, and I don't want to gloss over. And I know that part of the process is to take a breath and just sit for your inner, I call the sad one, who was blocked from feeling and acknowledging and expressing. Don't talk, don't say anything, don't stop the dinner conversation because nobody wants to hear it, right? So the pain of being 11 years old and making a little money, being industrious, and meeting excited, meeting someone who wants you to work for them. You're a little guy and you look up and you're happy and you're excited to get away from the home where there's anger and violence, and you have an escape, and then the escape becomes a nightmare. And for you, that little 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old Chris, I just want to hold that part of you right now and just take a deep breath. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose and release through your mouth. And just sit with him. And I can't remember what name we called that little part of Chris. And for those of you who are like, no, he's already moved past that. He's already dealt with that. Don't make him go back. That is one of the biggest BS belief systems in healing, is that you don't go back at all. Now, there's a difference between not going back at all and going back all the time. That's 10 years of therapy, which I don't recommend. But I believe, and this is my BS, my belief system, so if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. But I believe that part of the healing process is to work with that little sad part and comfort them and integrate them back into the fold. So do you remember what name we gave your little Chris, your sad one?
I don't,
Marissa? We'll just call him.
I actually
that's okay.
don't.
We'll just call him. Okay, let's call him Sweetheart. So Sweetheart, right now, I am, supporting and holding. This part of you is so sweet and so sensitive. And sensitivity is highly correlated with creativity. So I want Sweetheart to be able to know that, nothing like that's ever going to happen. But at the same time, it's okay to feel a little sad every once in a while, is to feel a little tender about that, because it was not fair that someone would do that to you. It is horrific that someone did that to you. It is, you wouldn't wish this on anyone. And yes, shame goes to that person. And did I just see you wipe a tear?
It's,
I hope so, because I love it when people cry.
The first night that it happened, the first night that it happened, I'm riding my Schwinn Stingray bicycle home, and I know I can't tell my family when I get home. There's so much chaos going on in my house that all I'm going to do is create more chaos. And, for the next 4 years, this guy took me to Laker games. He took me with him when he went to visit people. He would put on a Dickie collar when in the car, get his collar on. He'd go in somewhere. I'd wait in the car for him. We'd go to Mexico. He took me to orphanages in Tijuana and Ensenada. There's one thing that I am grateful for, is that I was introduced to people that were way less fortunate than us. And when we would go to Mexico and we would go to those orphanages, and I would meet those kids, and I would see cardboard houses on the side of a hill, And the next time we go there, that cardboard house would be gone because it rained. But he would take me down there, and we would go to the hotel in Ensenada, and he would rape me in the hotel in Ensenada. So I added it up. It was 800 over 800 times. And he performed my sister's wedding ceremony in 1984. That's how close he was to my family.
And I want you to continue to use the truth and what happened as not a way to get mad again, because this is an important part of the process as well. And you see how he's speaking. If you go back and listen to the sessions that we had on the air before, and the way he talks about it then and the way he's talking about it now, the beautiful part of Chris's journey and those who are healing is you're able to talk about it in a way that you still connect with the emotional side, but it is not, you are not that emotion. So twofold, it is important to address and to be, accurate around what happened, and people need to be held accountable for those actions. And at the same time, and I want to continue to encourage you to, as you're talking, you want to soothe that kid. And it's like, wow, you are so amazing that you went through this and were able to, survive, see the good parts of it that you were saying about the orphanage trip. And at the same time, I'm so sorry. And it's so important that you say, I'm sorry to your sweetheart, to that little Chris, because if you don't, then a lot of us who've had the trauma look to other people to try to get that message, and other people don't know what to do, right? Or they'll say, I'm so sorry, and you go, it's okay, it's past, can't change it. Or if they're not sensitive enough, you get mad, like, I can't believe that after you're not understanding, because no one can truly understand what you went through except you. So you are the most powerful individual to be able to comfort that part of you. So I can tell you do that well. I actually suggest once a week in the bathtub, or watch a sad movie. Allow yourself to access that part of you that hurt, to soothe. The ability to heal comes from the ability to soothe. I believe that 100,000%. So I can tell you've been doing that, and it's good. And that means you don't apologize for crying. Crying, tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. That I've continued to say for 10 years. And I love it when people cry because when you cry, your heart is open for healing. You're showing me your heart. And so good for you. All right. That's my little coaching insert there, but keep going. Okay. Now you meet Richard, and Richard is someone who you are able to
trust,
be honest. Trust. Okay. Go ahead.
Trust. All right. I met a guy that I could trust. I met a man that was a Dodger fan as well. All right. His name's Richard Wade, and he passed away on January 27th of this year. So I lost my sponsor, and in this program, it's a program of anonymity, and that's the way it needs to stay. But he helped me. So 2 years into this, we're working together, and I have that priest's phone number, and I call him up, and I want to meet with him. And my therapist, my ex-wife, my mother, and Richard got in my car, and we drove to Julian, California, to the Dairy Queen. And my mom and the therapist and my ex-wife went for a walk, and Richard and I went into the Dairy Queen, and Richard O'Shaughnessy showed up, and he was happy to see me. He was wondering why I came down there. He was hoping he was going to perform my wedding ceremony like he did for my sister. And we're in a Dairy Queen at 12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in November, where Julian, California is famous for pies. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, so it's a busy, busy place. And this is my crying towel that my best friend has given me a few of, because in this process in the last 3 years, since I was able to sue that church, I've been crying a lot. Okay, I don't block the crying ever. The tears are for a reason, and they need to come out. So he sat down, and I told him, I'm turning you into the church. You should have never had your hands on me. That was wrong. You changed the course of my life, and I'm turning you in. The letter was written, the stamp was on the envelope, and it was in my house in Belmont Shore, and he was shocked. And Richard, my sponsor, said to him, why did you do that? And his response was, I was experimenting. And I knew, it was I actually, when I left that Dairy Queen and got in the car, I believed that I just disconnected until I met you and got plugged in a little bit on a healing path, a real healing path. That program gave me the ladder to start climbing it, right? And there's so many layers that need to come off. So many layers. I think I got that onion peeled, and I wake up in the morning and that onion is bigger than it was when I went to sleep. All right. So, we drive home.
By the way, I'm gonna change that picture. No more onion, because there's never anything good at the middle of the onion, and it's just about crying. So I'm changing that to an artichoke, because as you pick an artichoke, there's still good stuff, right? There's still some meat that you dip, and let's change it to artichoke. I've never liked that onion, peeling the onion. So for what? Just continuous crying. But anyways, okay.
I'm peeling that artichoke, right? I'm peeling that artichoke. It's 1992, 1993. And now we're in COVID 2020. And I've realized why my body is in so much pain. I found a book, a man that had, a Vietnam veteran introduced me to a book called The Body Keeps Score by Van der Kolk. And I realized that even with the work I did with you, that I needed to go even deeper, way, way deep. And honestly, I was driving back from Florida a week ago, and I had something happen to me in my, in this brain that has 160 billion neurons going off all the time. Where this pain is, where it came from, where this attachment stuff came from, and what, why I react the way I do. And so now, I sought treatment for PTSD, and I went into EMDR therapy. And my God, things changed. Right. This third eye, I got, I was laid off when we met. I did not have a job. And 2 years later, I finally got a job, and when you called me on the day when you called me the day Brown vetoed the bill and asked me if I was going to be okay. And I told you, yes, I will be okay. And I was. But in 2015, I got this job. Finally went back to work. And in 2020, I couldn't go to work. I couldn't get out of bed. I needed to deal with it.
That's what I was talking about earlier. You suppress that stuff.
So
you don't deal with will come back and deal with you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And you got to go through the eye of the needle to get it done. You cannot do a spiritual bypass. All right. The spiritual bypass is great. I love all the outside stuff that I can do to make me feel better. I do it. But the honesty, until, I confronted him driving home. I escaped Saturday night. That night he started calling me, begging me not to do this. He called me 3 times on Saturday night. Then he called me on Sunday night. And the letter went out on Monday. And on Wednesday, I got a call from the Episcopalian Church. And I also got a call from him. And I had told him to stop calling me. And I finally told the church to tell him to stop calling me. And they went through the process from November of 92 until January of 93. And I got the paperwork on the defrocking of him. In 95, I had a baby. My wife and I had a baby. The week after the first weekend I brought her home from the hospital, my phone rang at my house, and it was him. And he said, "Congratulations on your baby, your new baby." And I was freaked out. I could not believe that he knew I had a baby. I don't know. He must have been following me. All right. So my mom worked for the Long Beach Police Department. And I called the police department. And they came to my house. An officer came to my house. And I gave him the phone number of Richard O'Shaughnessy. And, nothing could be done. Nothing could be done. But the police officer took his phone number and looked at me and said, "Chris, you'll never hear from that guy again." But Marissa, honestly, in 2013, when I was working on that bill, I believe that he was watching me.
So for those of you who've just tuned in and wondering who I have in my studio, as my very special guest is Chris Schrader, and he has gone through the ringer and is on his healing path and doing really well. I'm having him recap some of the things that have happened to him. And the one thing we haven't talked about is it is important, if you have been a victim of sexual abuse by a priest or whoever, and you have not reported them, it is part of the healing process to do that. And not only do that, one of the things that I was very proud of Chris of doing was taking that anger and alchemizing it into a legislative bill, or the same thing that a number of my past guests, Paul, whose wife was shot down in the Seal Beach Salon shooting, to take the anger and then go for change in the system. And so he was part of that bill that he was just talking about, just so that people understand what that is about. And just to tell you, we have 10 minutes left. Okay. So I knew it was going to go fast, but you're doing great. It is a long story, and we may have to continue at another date, but you're doing great. I think this is so important for anyone who has been molested by a priest, because this is probably one of those things that, you don't want to address. You don't want to deal with it. And may I say, Chris, to have him in the Dairy Queen say to you, "I was experimenting." On one hand, it's great that you didn't imagine this. Victims of abuse often think that maybe they made it up or it really didn't happen. I remember that moment for me when I took my brother to therapy, and the therapist said, "Did your mom beat you and call you names too?" And he said, "No, just my sister." So that moment of, okay, I didn't make it up, right? When he said I was experimenting, that's the good news. The bad news is, and which is why you shut down, is I cannot believe he's not even sorry. I cannot believe that he is still asking me to not do this, when he did the most horrific thing he could possibly do to a young boy. So that's the two sides.
And I've been offered a leadership position within SNAP. There's just the whole point of me getting him. You know, I want someone to come forward that's been keeping this quiet to themselves for all their lives. There's not very many 67-year-old men that are alive that are talking about this, or women. And I want people to talk about it. The Franklin cover-up, it all started in Boys Town in Nebraska. This thing is so deep in our country. It's happening all the time, and it's being covered up. And the church is covering it up all the time. The Catholic Church has put out $1 billion. You know, we didn't see the file on Richard O'Shaughnessy because we settled out of court. We know that there was another victim. You know, the whole point of this is to spread the word of communication and light, and no fear. You do not have to have fear. You can come forward. You can call me. You can tell someone. Don't take this to your grave. Don't take this to your grave. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be dealt with. And children need to be protected from birth. Children need to be protected.
I just pulled up Snap. I'm glad that you mentioned them. They've been in my studio before. Totally 100,000% support their work. They are not quiet, which is good because this is such a difficult thing to talk about, and people were raising their eyebrows when they saw the topic that I was going to do today, and I said I'm sorry, but I have to support this, as uncomfortable as it is, because it did happen, and it will continue to happen if people like you don't start. If they feel that they cannot talk about it. So, you know, and because of that, Chris, I'm going to give you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. And I don't give this to all guests, but thank you for the work that you're doing. All right. So you went to the police. He did call you even after the police said don't call.
No.
You went and
when the police officer left my home and he had his phone number, I did not hear from that guy again.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so that did work. So there is a way to protect yourself and to hold people accountable. So then the legislation got vetoed by Brown, the first one, right? When I called you and said, "Are you okay?" And then now there's one in the works, right?
Yep.
And tell me about this process then that you went through that just got settled.
So in 2020, I went to the firm that was working with the bill, Zalkin Law Firm in San Diego. Devin Story is my attorney. And I had all the evidence with me of the defrocking. And he contacted the church, and they offered mediation. And he contacted the church in April. And in June of 2020, they offered mediation. And we finally got mediation in June of 2022. They placated my attorney for almost 2 years. All right.
Yeah, I remember.
We went to mediation on June 28th with Judge Merrill. They did a video of me down in San Diego with my story. It was about an hour long. They edited it down to 30 minutes. I have it on a thumb drive. And when the judge saw the video and she saw me, and she said to me, "Chris, I saw your video. It's horrific. What happened? Absolutely horrific." She came back in 2 hours later with an offer that my attorneys dropped their jaw on, because it was a first thing that it had never happened that way with them. And it was over. We were done. I'm done with that.
So it was a good offer. It was a good offer.
The offer was great, and I took it. I'm moving on. Here we are. Let's get going. Let's get this stuff out there, and let's make people accountable. And if they're dead, so be it. Your story is still your story. It's not your definition of life. It's just your part of your story.
Yeah. And that is the balanced process that I'm talking about. Where does this crap begin and end? And I will be the first person to say, oh, we have a nice comment here. Hi, Glenn. You're so very right. Children must be protected. My heart goes out to those abused. Please, I hope you can heal and help others heal. And your hope is happening, Glenn. Chris is a great example of taking pain. And I'm going to say this for anyone who's watching right now. I'm looking into your eyes, who has been abused of any kind, and you're carrying around the weight of that. I'm going to tell you right now, over and over again, I say the same thing. You absolutely had no responsibility for what happened with you. And Chris knows this because I did this with him almost 10 years ago. There was nothing that you did wrong as that 11, 12, 13, 14. And some people will say, well, you should have gone to someone. Well, you should have said something. Well, you should have reported them then. And that is BS, bullshit talkie, and shut the fork up. Because if you're a person that is blaming, a child to do something that you would have done as an adult, that is so wrong. And I get very angry when I hear anybody approach that way. And so you had absolutely no responsibility at all for what happened to you as a result of some idiot. That's my FCC approved word. I could go, they should not have done that. They should, and nothing will undo what they did. However, you do have a responsibility not to drag that into your present and live from there. That's your responsibility, because then you choose to give up the birthright that you have to have an amazing life. And for that, that's my work. That's why I went through what I did, and I don't regret it, because that's the message that I am supposed to disseminate. Chris is supposed to tell you not to be afraid, to do something about it, there is people to help. This is something that needs to be light shone on, because in the dark, things get infected. Chris's job is to not rip the bandage, but gently remove the darkness and help you with that. He's serious about when he says, call me. Okay. I go ahead and put I don't know if you can put your number in the chat, but anyways, just go on LinkedIn, Chris Schrader. He's there. You can find him there. So that is my final word. It is your, go ahead.
Let's correct the spelling.
Your final word.
There's no C in Schrader.
I did it again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so bad. I keep doing that.
The bottom line is that I continue to seek as much light as possible from as many sources as possible. And I take all the good from all of those sources and use them, and I take all the bad and not. And there's so many avenues that I'm in a full moon circle tonight. This Libra full moon is all about change.
Yeah, all right.
And my life has been all about change, and your lives need to be about change and positive happiness. Happiness, absolutely. 88% of the time.
Absolutely. And Chris, that's a perfect way to end. My sound engineer is like, we're out of time. So it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming back in studio, helping so many people I know with this particular show. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live in her living room, reminding you to go and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow.